You know, there's a battle for the very soul of Bitcoin happening right now. And it all boils down to one question. Who gets to decide what's allowed on the network? So today, we're going to break down a video from the channel Bitcoin University that jumped right into this fight. It's from February 12, 2026, and it's all about a controversial proposal called BIP 110.
So at the very heart of this whole conflict is this question right here. Is the Bitcoin blockchain being clogged up with junk? And we're not just talking about messy data. We're talking about images, tokens, all sorts of non-financial files taking up precious block space. Space that a lot of people think should be for one thing and one thing only: money.
Okay, so what's the proposed fix? It's a soft fork known as BIP 110. The easiest way to think about it is like a new rule for the network, one designed to filter out all this non-monetary data. And as you can probably guess, trying to change the rules of Bitcoin has sparked a massive fight.
And this isn't just some technical disagreement between developers, It's really a philosophical battle over Bitcoin's fundamental identity. What is this thing actually for?
The whole debate really boils down to two opposing camps. On one side, you have people who argue that Bitcoin is and should only ever be a network for permissionless money. But on the other side, you have people who see it as a permissionless network for any kind of data. And these two visions, they are fundamentally at odds with each other.
The argument from Bitcoin University couldn't be clearer. They put it just like this. Bitcoin is permissionless money. It's not permissionless cloud data storage. The pro-BIP 110 camp believes the network was built for one specific job: to be the best money the world has ever seen, not some kind of decentralized Dropbox.
All right, so that's the argument for the change. But what about the other side? What are the main criticisms against doing this? The source video actually spends most of its time tackling these objections head-on, so let's break them down one by one. So the first big pushback you hear is basically, who cares? The argument goes something like this. A node runner has to store blocks of data anyway, so what does it matter what's in that data? Whether it's a financial transaction or a picture of a cat, it all takes up space, right?
But here's the thing, the rebuttal is that it's not just about disk space. This so-called spam creates a huge technical burden. It chews up bandwidth when you're trying to download the blockchain. It burns CPU power for verification, and it dramatically slows down the whole process for anyone trying to set up a new node. It's a massive drain on the entire system.
But here's where it really hits home for the average user, right in the wallet. See, all this extra data is competing for space with actual monetary transactions. And when demand for that limited block space goes way up, what happens? The fees, they go through the roof.
And look, we're not just talking hypotheticals here. The source points to what they called a spam attack back in 2023. The fee to get just a single transaction into the next block spiked to over $157. I mean, that makes using Bitcoin as actual money incredibly expensive for pretty much everyone.
Okay, on to the next major criticism. This one is the why even bother argument. It basically says, look, this is a waste of time. Even if you block one method of storing data, the spammers are just going to find another way around it.
The source counters this with a pretty brilliant analogy. They say this is like arguing we shouldn't have email spam filters. I mean, of course, spammers adapt and find new ways, but we still fight it, right? We build filters, we make new policies, because the alternative, just letting it run wild, is so much worse. Taking a stand actually matters. The video really frames this don't even try attitude as just defeatist. As they say in the video, imagine telling someone that they shouldn't try to stop email spam because spammers might come up with new ways to spam. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to make it crystal clear that this is an abuse of the network and to actually fight back.
And that brings us to the final and honestly, maybe the most important point of this whole debate. It's rooted in a huge misunderstanding about how Bitcoin is actually governed. Who gets to decide if a new rule like BIP 110 gets adopted?
So let's get this straight, because it is super important. In Bitcoin, you have miners and you have node runners. They are not the same thing. Think of miners as employees of the network. They get paid to bundle transactions into blocks. But the node runners, the thousands of volunteers all over the world running the software, they are the ones who actually enforce the rules of the network. They're the guardians.
And this, right here, is the ultimate power dynamic. Opponents of BIP 110 might say, well, the miners will never accept this. But as the source video explains, this is Bitcoin 101. Miners follow the rules that the nodes enforce.
If a miner creates a block that thousands of nodes all over the world consider invalid, that block gets rejected. And guess what? The miner doesn't get paid. It's really as simple as that.
So when you pull back and look at the big picture, it's clear this debate over one soft fork isn't just about code. It's really a proxy war for the future of the entire network. Is Bitcoin a highly specialized tool for sound money, or is it a generic anything-goes data platform?
And that leaves all of us with a really critical question to think about. This isn't just about technology. It's about governance and vision. As Bitcoin continues to grow and evolve, who truly gets to decide what it is and what it will become? The developers, the miners, or the individual users running the code? That right there is the real debate.